BTC a little quiet today after a rip-roaring bounce back from 30, leaves us right in the middle of the range from 2021. Let's go to Scott Bauer, who's been talking Bitcoin, crypto with us now for a couple of years. Scott, we're at a really interesting juncture here where there's such clear defined regimes, the one from Q1 and then the one from the last couple months, and we're right in the middle. You got a bias on which way you think we're going to go?
We are definitely right in the middle, and right now I'd say that bias would be to the upside,
Okay.
Oliver. But you know, that could change next week. That could change in 3 weeks. I think we're seeing a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a rest today because this was almost a little bit of the buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. Lots of anticipation ahead of the infrastructure bill. Now that that is in place, now that there is some clarity, that's all the market always wants, right? When the market's anticipating some kind of news event, good, bad, or indifferent, the market usually settles in after that news comes out. And I think that's what we're seeing here. But it certainly, has a lot of momentum. Bitcoin has a lot of momentum behind it right now. And 44 was a pretty key number for me, 44.2 or so, which we almost got down there today. We didn't quite get down there. I think the low today was maybe 44.6. But that was key to hold some support there. And I would absolutely love to see Bitcoin just kind of moderate a little bit here and start coiling again after, the big run up here.
Okay, what would that look like to you? Sideways action, consolidation between that kind of 42-ish, 44 and upwards of 46, maybe 47. How long could we do that, Scott, do you think?
I think we could do that for a good week to 10 days or so. We'll probably get some sort of movement again ahead of Jackson Hole. Not that that is going to be so relevant to what Bitcoin does, but I think you may just see overall, some risk assessment in equity markets and bond markets and in Bitcoin ahead of that.
Okay. So what's the biggest impediment to getting that upside that seems like the direction we want to default to in your analysis here, Scott? What could get in the way? We had a conversation about the dollar earlier and maybe a Fed that has to get a little bit more responsive if inflation's warm. What is the news flow that you're looking for to give us clues as to whether or not this plays out as expected?
Oliver, we've talked for the longest time about the correlation, the relationship between Bitcoin and the dollar and interest rates and the Fed. And we're not clear, right? We don't have a clear decision on what that really is. In fact, over the last week or so, 10 days, you see the strength in the dollar, and all of a sudden, Bitcoin rallies as well, which is almost counterintuitive. What would cause that catalyst here? I think, again, some clarity from the Fed, whichever way it's going to be. I think clarity. That, again, the market does not like uncertainty. The market likes the news once that news is out. So I actually think that once we do have a little bit of clarity, that paves the way for the move higher.
All right. So, Scott, so we get some clarity here. As far as the next week of data go, we do have some interesting numbers. Following our good employment, it seems the market is hopeful about our future again. After this infrastructure bill, a little bit of follow through, some of that reflation trade. Bitcoin and yields climbed together the first quarter for a while. Dollar was up too, to our guest Matt Weller's point at the top of the show. Could we get that type of regime again, Scott? What do you think the potential for that Q1 blueprint for reflation is right now?
I think we can. And actually, Oliver, I'm looking for some pretty hot numbers over the next 2 days, CPI and PPI, which I think would be a good thing for the market. We may see the market sell off right away or, maybe take a little bit of a hit if those numbers are really hot because, then people are really going to think, all right, the Fed's got to act now. This is what they're going to do. They're going to start pulling back, sooner rather than later. And we're going to start seeing those, yields increase sooner rather than later, which, for the equity market would obviously not be necessarily a great thing. So I think any kind of pullback there is a buying opportunity. And I think it's a buying opportunity, quite frankly, across the board, like you said, in dollar and yields and Bitcoin, that they can all move together here over the next several months.
All right, Scott, like the point, like the analysis. Makes sense to me. And a good setup for us tomorrow on how we think about CPI. Thanks, Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy.